We're turning towards ourselves and giving ourselves the space to understand who we are. And we can begin to start seeing each part of ourselves as the function of the resilience that we've had in our life. So my name is Elizabeth Huck. I'm an associate clinical social worker with an MSW from USC. Right now, I'm specializing in anxiety and trauma with training in sensory motor psychotherapy and Brainspotting. I've worked in outpatient, PHP, partial hospitalization, as well as now I'm in private practice. The population that I generally work with is those with trauma, and I find a lot of those who work with me struggle with kind of intellectualization as a coping mechanism. And so that means where they're very aware of all of the things that have happened to them, why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, all of the experiences that influence their behavior, yet maybe struggle to enact change. So I, as a somatic therapist, I really enjoy beginning to move through this coping skill and getting to process some of these deeper feelings and experiences that lie in our body so that they can have a little bit more space to make different changes and not have to rely on this concept of willpower to get through. I find that when we work through the trauma stored in the body, we're able to naturally have a little bit more space to make different choices rather than trying to think our way into moving into the behaviors, the habits, the routines that we want to do. So I also love working with dissociation. That is a very key part in trauma. So with dissociation, we can see a lot of different diagnoses coming under that. We have BPD, complex PTSD, DID, all of those we have those struggling with dissociation. And so I love helping an individual piece together their internal world so that we can have a greater understanding of what's going on for them. I also work with those who struggle with depression and OCD as well, and helping individuals realign with the values in their life and being able to make choices and behaviors that align with how they would like to live their life. I believe self-healing is an innate ability of all humans to reorganize themselves towards resilience. I find that a lot of times we think that we are very unresilient because we're struggling with mental health issues, when in reality, all of these things that we that may feel like roadblocks and barriers are a part of our effort towards resilience. And so in therapy, the work that we do is kind of maybe reorganizing it in a way that better serves your goals. And so then we create habits, practices, and routines that can kind of get you onto the way, maybe a more direct path towards where you would like to go and what kind of goals, relationships, and feelings that you would like to experience in your life. My personal self-healing journey began with like a terrifying experience of trauma-induced psychosis from childhood trauma. And so from there, I began working with a therapist. And I want to kind of preface and say a lot of times people think that these kind of experiences are like, that's it, that's the end. But I myself, I know that these are things that can be worked through, and it can give you a great sense of purpose and understanding in life, having gone through a lot of serious mental health issues. And you get a lot of gifts from healing trauma. We have a beautiful perspective in life, a desire to help others, and just a lot of different things that we never would have known if we haven't done the work. So a lot of times we also think that self-healing is just like, okay, let me just read this book and like, then I gotta do these things and, I have to do all of this by myself. but we're also a social species and heal in community. And an integral part of trauma work is to begin experiencing safety in relationship. And so that's where the therapeutic relationship comes in, is because therapists are trained, we're trained to create that safe container for you to begin regulating your nervous system. So if I were to do my self-healing journey again, I would definitely, after, establishing safety in my body, I would also front load a lot of somatic practices, regulating my nervous system and processing the things through my body. And so the things that I still use every day as a therapist is like the parts work from internal family systems. And that's where we're kind of in communication, and we're nurturing and tending to and understanding and investigating all of the different parts of ourselves that come together and work either against each other or work with each other. So it's just kind of negotiating and creating a space for all of that. And also somatic practices. For me, it's very important to be in touch with my body and to do things where I'm moving my body regularly. And that is a part of my self-care practices, as well as just general mindfulness and self-compassion throughout my day-to-day. First integral part is creating a safe container for allowing their own process to unfold. And so that's, getting to know each other and establishing trust. And so in this space, I begin a kind of gentle encouragement for us to ease back into our bodies and build this neutral awareness, the foundation of self-compassion and mindfulness. So our work together is always a collaboration. So it'll look different for every person, but it's important for me as a therapist to create a safe and compassionate space, as well as offering you the tools for introspection, things like internal family systems, where you can start mapping things out, value-based, value-driven behavior, ACT. So you can look at your values and start, figuring out the behaviors that you want to start taking. And then various different coping skills and self-care practices to build your mental health toolkit. So I'm kind of like your biggest cheerleader as well, encouraging you to explore the things that are interesting to you and work well for you. And so if I'm working with you through trauma, it's really important that we work through the 3 phases of trauma processing, which will look like stabilization, a lot of nervous system regulation. And for me, I think everybody needs help with nervous system regulation, as we are so stressed as a society. We all need to kind of learn how to understand what's happening in our body and how to release some of the built up energy and to maintain the nervous system flexibility. So going back to the trauma work, we move into processing from stabilization, and then we'll do integration, where you're kind of integrating the trauma narrative in a positive way. The things that really stand out to me is compassion. And so that's kind of the foundation of the things that we build on ourselves. If we can't be kind to ourselves, it's very hard to try new things, to implement habits. So even before compassion, sometimes it can just be neutral observation and presence, right? We're just looking at things and staying out of judgment. And we're turning towards ourselves and giving ourselves the space to understand who we are. And we can begin to start seeing each part of ourselves as the function of the resilience that we've had in our life, instead of perhaps a shame-based lens where we feel negatively about the things that we've experienced or the things that we do. And then next, something that stands out to me just because of how much my clients appreciate this concept and how much it gives them to think about. And it's this concept of spaciousness. And so it's about lowering our reactivity to things. And so when we have more space, we're able to naturally allow life to flow through us again, right? We're not grasping or trying to control things. We can just give ourselves some space and flexibility to handle what comes up and handle the stress and understand what's happening for us as the things are happening outside of us as well. And then lastly, I think it's building up trust in ourselves, right? And so when we go through life and go through a lot of difficult things, we can become so worried and overwhelmed that we become disconnected with ourselves, our inner body, and our world. So when we're building up that trust with ourselves, we're building up trust in the therapeutic environment where we're learning to trust each other, but also beginning to reconnect with our body sensations, ourself, our own values, the things that we care about. And then we build trust by acting in ways with alignment with those things and who we are. I just want to say that this is honestly the most rewarding work that you do for yourself. And it is the foundation in which you can really build any life that you want. A lot of times when we've gone through a lot of stressful things in our life, we become habituated to accepting that it just has to be like this, right? That we can just, let me just trudge through this and just get by. But honestly, taking time for yourself and saying, I'm going to invest in myself and maybe it can be better than this. It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, I love myself so much, right? That's something that we want to work towards, but it can just be a tiny little sliver of saying, hey, it could be better than this. And I want to encourage you that it could be better than this. And, it just takes a small step. And over time, it won't be such an investment. At first, it may feel like, oh, every day I'm laboring in my mental health or I'm struggling and I'm coping and it just feels like so much. But just taking small steps at a time, before you know it, you're able to do the things that have the life that you never thought that you would be able to have. It just takes a small step.